Hello all. So thanks for participating in 1 minute exercise. So I'll give you a quick recap on the previous session. So we discussed about the data types, the different data types and their default length and maximum length allowed, and the properties of those data types like date, time, right? What is the, like when we go for character and when we go for string, right? And how we use it in the internal, in the ABAP programs, and how we display it in the output. Okay, so what is hexadecimal, right? We have seen all these data types and possible conversions, possible conversions, right? So these are the data types which can be like that particular value can be passed to other type, right? And the possibility of that copying the one data type value to another data type value, you can observe here. Star means wherever you see star, there might be some rounding issues, value rounding issues. Okay, when you are passing source data type field to target data type, you might observe some rounding issues. Okay, and then we discussed about data objects. What is a data object? The data object we use in ABAP programs to store the values in runtime, right? To store the or to handle the values in program runtime. That's called a data object. We need to define before using the data object what is required. We need to define it with some with specified data type and length. For example, if you need to use employee ID field in your program, for that what you need to hold that value, you need a data object. You need a data object. But to use the data object, what is the prerequisite? You need to define it first. Then only you can use the data object in the program. The examples for data objects are variables, constants, and we have work areas. Like work area is not a single value, it is collection of fields, one meaningful record. What is the difference between field and a record? A field is an individual value, like employee ID is one value. That one we can consider it as a field. What is a record? Record is collection of values, set of values with some meaningful information. That is record. But work area can hold single record in the program runtime. So what is the internal table? Internal table,
Multiple
yeah,
records.
internal table can hold more than one record in the program runtime. For all these data objects, constants, work area, internal table, what is the prerequisite? We need to define them. We need to define them. What is the length? What is the type? What are the fields we need to use? Everything we need to define. Then only we can start using data objects in the program. Okay. Now, if you observe here, so you are saying that internal table can hold multiple records, right?
Yes, sir.
Can we store only single record in internal table? Only one record.
No, sir.
Yeah, that is possible. See, if you are trying to select some employee records from the table, there is one table with some data. In the program, you are trying to select employee attendance data by month wise, right? Then employee should have 12 records in that table for each month, right? But a particular employee may not attend for all the 12 months. He might attended only for 1 month, right? He did not attend the rest of the 11 months. How many records we can find it in that table? Only one
One
record,
record.
right? Only
Yes,
one
sir.
record. Yet in that scenario, we can select maybe only one record for that employee. For the rest of the employees, we might have multiple records, right? So internal table can hold one or more. Okay, we can also store one record, but there is a possibility of multiple records, right? So when you are going to use internal table, when you are sure that there might be one record or more than one record, at the time, what is the object you need to use? Internal table, right? But if you are very sure, very confident that you are going to select only one record, then what? Then which object you need to use?
Work
Work
area, sir.
area.
Work area. And also to modify the data inside the internal table or to calculate or to use the data inside the internal table. How we can do that? First, we need to copy that record to work area and we can do some calculations on the record, right? So we are not going to directly apply calculations on the internal table record. First, we need to move record by record into work area, and then we use that record to print output or do some calculations. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So internal table and work area are related. So both we use together. There are some advanced objects also. We'll discuss in the future sessions. Okay. Types, internal table types and all we'll discuss later. So there are three types: standard internal table, sorted internal table, and hashed internal table. Each internal table type we use for a different purpose. We'll discuss that later. Okay. So today we'll create some basic programs by using different data types and observe the output. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So how to log in into SAP? By using SAP GUI. Okay. So here we have three servers in this GUI already configured. If the servers are not available, to whom you need to contact? Let's say in your project, you can see this GUI, but these connections are empty. And who should provide that connections? SAP basis consultant.
Consultant.
Yeah, he's the system, like he or she is the system administrator who can provide you these connection details and your employee, sorry, your login ID and passwords. Okay. So this is the ECC system. We have SAP ECC, the previous version of S4 HANA. So first we'll check the basic differences. So this is the ECC system, SAP ECC system. Let's go and check the system properties or system details where we can check that. The database, application server and everything. Where we can check? In system menu.
Status. Status.
This is ECC system. Go to system versions, like which version it is using. ABAP version is 7.4. ABAP version is 7.4 version. And what is the database? Database is MS SQL Server. Microsoft SQL Server. It is using as a backend database. Okay. I think it is schema name. So it is running on Windows NT,
Operating system.
Windows NT operating system. I think it is the application server or something. It is running on Windows NT operating system, right?
Yes,
This
sir.
is SAP ECC. So here the database can be anything, like depends on the customer requirement. They can configure or they can use their own database. This is S4HANA 2022 version. Let's log in. Go to system, status. So what is the database it is using? HDB. HDB means HANA database. Okay. So here, do we need to log in or do we need to work in this backend databases? As a ABAP developer, do you need to understand that? Do you need to log in into these backend databases? No,
No,
you
right.
don't need. You don't need. Okay. So everything we are going to access in this SAP GUI only or SAP editor only. So there are different transaction codes where you going to use. To access SAP database tables, what is the transaction code?
Yes,
SC38, sir.
38.
No, that is for programs. SC38 is ABAP editor where we write the programs. SC11 is SAP data dictionary where we access database tables, right? I've shown you a sample table with some data.
Yes, sir.
Yes? Yeah.
Yes, sir. KHNA.
Okay. Let's create some programs. SC38 is the transaction code. How to provide the program name? Starts with, since we are creating a custom program, what is the mandatory rule?
Z, sir.
It
Z or
starts
Y.
with Z or Y. I'll use some naming convention, Z demo. Mm, for to search easily, I'll use like this Z demo 10 sample program. You can see all these existing programs. These are all the existing programs with this naming like similar to our program name. Create. What we need to provide here? Program title. What is the type of the program we need to select? Executable program. So
Executable.
executable program is something which can independently execute, independently run without any dependency. It will accept the input and return the output. You can't save. So what is a package? Package is a
Local, sir.
location where we save the objects, all our objects. Usually in projects, we use a proper package for each functionality. So those objects will be saved in that package, right? For now, we'll select the local package. Local package means it is local to the current system. You cannot copy or you cannot move it to the test or production systems. Okay.
Yes,
For
sir.
now, temporarily we select local package or local object. It is a local package. So this is the program. This is the header text, or in projects we call them as change log, change log text. What do we call this? Change log
Change
text.
log
Change log
test.
text. Here, what do we provide? The functionality of the program, like
Describes the.
who created it, what are the dependencies to run the program, everything we mentioned here, right? And also, we maintain the change log. Once the program is completed, maybe after some days or maybe after some years, there might be some changes to the program. Maybe adding some additional functionality or fixing some issue. So whenever we do the change, right, we are going to maintain a log here. Who changed it, date changed, release number, like in SAP we call them as transport request numbers. Like what is the that defect ID or reference ID we are going to maintain here. Okay, this is called change log. This is like, actually this is not going to execute, this is not part of the executable code. Okay, this is just about documentation, some documentation about the program. Okay, so in most of the projects we follow this change log. We have to maintain proper change log. Okay, that is also mandatory. Please keep in mind that writing program only not enough. You have to write the program using proper naming standards. That is also very, very important. Okay, you don't need to worry about naming
Yes, sir.
standards. When you joined in the project, they'll give you the document, like what are the naming standards they are following. What is the name you have to provide to the variable, what is the name you have to provide to the work areas, everything you are going to, they are going to provide in the form of document. You just need to follow that naming standards.
Yes, sir. Clear.
Okay, let's write some program using some basic character data type. How to display the output? Using write statement, right?
Yes, sir.
So in single quotes you can provide the text or data what you need to print, and you can print it. Once your program is completed, what you need to do? Check the program
Check the program.
Activate,
and activate the
activate the
program. And
progress.
obviously you need to save it and execute it.
Yes, sir.
This is the output. This is the fixed value, right? So whatever the fixed values, static values we are going to use, we need to maintain it in single quotes.
Hello, sir. Voice is not audible, sir.
Yeah, sorry. So what is SY datum? What is SY datum?
System variable for date.
These are system variables. So whatever the values are, they are starting with SY hyphen. This is not underscore. Please remember hyphen. These are called system variables. What is the use of these system variables? These system variables holds current system values. Current system values. sy-datum holds current system date. What is the current date? System date. Okay. And we'll print one more thing, comma. If you want to print multiple, you need to use this chain operator. You need to use colon. Then you can add more using comma. sy-uzdit. So this is the system variable for time, current system time. Current system time. What is the current time? 10:37 a.m. This should contain that current system time, not our laptop time, SAP server time. Okay, this SAP server time. If this SAP server is for US client, so they are going to maintain their own timing standards, right? So that time it will print. Okay, not our local time, local laptop time. It is SAP system time. Depends on the client location. And sy-u name. Think, yeah. What is this? U name? Current user of the system. Current user of the system. It will hold that value. Every programming will have some this kind of system variables where you can use those current system values. Like that, you have many more. You have many more. I think we have one more, sy-langu. This is for current system language. Whatever the language we are providing and the login, right? That language it will maintain here in this system variable. Let's see what it will print. Check the program. First save it. Check the program. No syntax errors. And activate the programs. And what is the next step? Execute. Press F8 or click on this. What is this? This is current system time. This one is, sorry, first one is date, current system date. Second one is current system
Time.
time. Third one is username. Username which logged into this current system, like current SAP session. En means language,
Language.
system language. Like that, you can use these system variables whenever required. There are many system variables. We'll start using one by one. Okay. So in the write statement, if you want to use like this, if you want to provide some description, use single quotes, system time, system date. I'll use like this. I want to print these details in the next line. These details in the next line. I can use slash, backslash to print these details in next line. Okay.
Yes, sir.
I'll use here. If you want to highlight any data with some specific color, you can use color, color. We have color codes between 0 to 7. We have color codes between 0 to 7. I'll use 0 for this. And I want to print time in some different color. For I don't want to print color for username. For this I'll use 5. Save. Always remember. So here observe in which line we are in, 7th line. So where in which row we are in, which column we are in, 118, right? We have typed already 118 characters, right?
Yes, sir.
Don't keep this much long, okay? Don't keep the statements this much long, okay? Write statements only within maybe maximum 70 or 80. 70 or 80. It will work. Even if you write more than that, it will work. But when you are trying to debug, right, you can't see all these statements because of the spacing issues. Okay? That's why I always break the statements into next line. Okay? Clear?
Yes,
You can
clear.
Yes, sir.
break the lines into next line. So you need to close the statement with this period dot. Okay? Okay, sorry, 1 to 7, not 0 to 7. Color code 1. Check the syntax. Activate the program. So it will print like this with some colors. Clear?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Clear.
So since we use the backslash, it is printing in the next line. Okay?
Yes.
Okay, sir.
So what is the internal date format for SY-DATUM? What is the internal date
Year,
format?
month, year, month,
And
date.
date.
Here,
Date.
that
But how it is displaying?
the
With
special
some
character.
separator. With some separator. Right? With separators, it is
Sir.
displaying. Output length is 10. Time also. Output length is 8. Internal length is 6.
6.
Okay? So I'm talking about debugging, right? What do you mean by debug? Debugging or debug is very, very important in any technology to find the issue, to find the root cause of the issue. What causing the issue in your application? In any programming or in any technology, what they do? They do debugging, right? Here also in ABAP also we have debug options. Just to check the values, just to check the values how it is calculating in background. We can keep a breakpoint. We can keep a breakpoint by just clicking here. It is a breakpoint. Otherwise, you can observe these symbols, right? Session breakpoint. We'll discuss about external breakpoint later. Please observe session breakpoint. Session breakpoint. Select the line from which line you want to debug and click here. It will set the breakpoint. Can we breakpoint this? Can we set breakpoint on this report statement? No. This
No,
report
sir.
statements we cannot debug. Okay. Now execute. I've set the breakpoint here. Execute. See, I'm telling you about the space issue, right? In debug mode. If I type a long line, you cannot see the complete line here in debug screens. You need to adjust many, many things, right? But if you split that line into next line, you can easily see what is the code written in that statement, right? That's why I'm asking you, don't write a long statements, which are more than at least 70, 80 characters. Okay. If it is beyond 70, 80 characters, split that into next line. Okay. Clear?
Clear, sir.
Yeah.
Yes,
Now
sir.
let's
Clear.
check the values. Now let's check the values here in debug mode. I'll go to desktop 3. There are different modes. We'll explain that later. But select desktop 3. You can see corresponding variable and value here. Double click on this. Double click on S5 datum. Double click on this. What is the value it is contains? Date, right?
Date.
Date in SAP's internal format. How it is maintaining the date? In SAP internal format. YYYYY
MM.
DD.
Time. Time also maintaining in the internal format. Anyway, username, these are fixed. There is no external format. But if you observe language, it is maintaining in the internal format. That is E. But how it is displaying? In the external
Yeah.
format, EN,
Yeah.
right?
EN.
EN.
Ian.
Yeah. So like this, you can see how that values are populating in the debug mode. Okay. If someone say it is printing incorrect date, how can you find the issue? Go to the program, keep the breakpoint and debug it. Here we have four buttons or four function keys which we need to use: F5, F6, F7, F8. F5, this one. You can also press keyboard function keys. F5 is for single step. It will execute line by line in debug mode. F6 is function by function. So when you use functions, you can observe that difference, right? Otherwise, if you are not using any functions, right, it is same as F5 only. It will also execute line by line. Okay. F7, it is written, for example, in the program you are calling some function and you entered into the function. And if you want to come back to the main program, you are going to press F7 and F8 for the complete execution. Okay. Don't worry too much about this. We'll see more examples. You can easily understand in the future sessions. Okay. Now press F5, or you can also press this F5, right? It will display the output in external format. Clear? This is how we debug. Debugging is very important when you are working in the support projects or even in the implementation projects to find the root cause. Okay. Now let me comment this code. I've commented this code using control left arrow. You can also use this double quotes to comment the any specific line. Okay. Or you can simply press control left arrow to comment. To uncomment, control right arrow. Okay. Now we'll start using some data objects like variables. So what is the statement that we use to define the data objects? What is the syntax we use to define the data objects? Data.
Data.
Data is the keyword. Data is the keyword.
Very keyword. Variable name.
For
Variable.
example, I'm taking a local variable LVEMP name, employee name. Type. What is the data type we can provide for employee name?
Character.
Character.
C. Type C. And do we need to provide the length?
Yes, sir.
20.
Is it mandatory? If you don't provide the length, by default it will take only character 1.
Oh,
Okay. Length some 40, right?
yes, sir.
I've defined the data object, that is LVEMP name. So I've allocated some memory which can store data up to 40 characters, right? Clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, yes, sir. Yeah.
Now a memory is created. Can we provide some 200? Yeah, it will
No.
accept, but what is the use of it? It is waste of memory, right? It is going to occupy
Waste of memory.
unnecessary
Right,
memory in
sir.
the application server. It is going to occupy unnecessary memory in the application server. Okay. Now, How to pass the value to this variable? Do we have any value in this variable? No, it is empty. We just defined it. We just created an empty space. How to pass any data or value to this variable? Like this. LV underscore emp name equal to single space in single colon, single quotes, some name. Okay. In single quotes, pass the value. Now we are passing the value to this variable. Now print it. LV underscore
EMP
What is
name.
LV?
emp name. Do we need to use single quotes for this? Do we need to use single quotes for
No,
variable?
sir.
No.
Sorry, LV means
Uh, Local variable.
LV is nothing but like I've already explained. You can provide any name to the variable. So you can also provide like this. I'll take like this. Okay. But when I look at in the program, when I look at it in the program, can I easily identify? So for example, I'm not looking at the declaration. Now I'm in some line and I'm able to see this statement. Can you tell me what is this? What is this? Is it a variable, work area, internal table? Can you tell me what is this? How can you say, how can you identify the type of the data object? It might be a constant, variable, work area, internal table, right? We don't know, right?
Yes, sir.
But if you provide some naming convention, some proper name, LV underscore EMP name. Now I can easily identify, when I look at this statement, I can easily identify, okay, this might be a variable because I'm using LV, right? Is it mandatory to use LV?
Yes, sir.
No, it is not
No.
mandatory. Even I can
User
use like this. I can
information.
use some test 1, 2, 3, test 1, 2, 3. I'll change the variable name. Is it going to work or not? It will work without any issue. But how can you identify what is the value we are going to maintaining in the variable? What is test 1, 2, 3? It will work, right? It will print that value. But when you are checking the program, can you tell me what is test 1, 2, 3? No one knows, right? For that reason, we maintain a proper name. It is our wish, like you can provide any name, but always we provide some meaningful name related to that value. Which value we are going to store in that variable. LV
Table.
means variable. For work area, we follow different naming. For example, LS or WA according to the project standards. Okay. Not only LV, it is if it is a global, if it is for global memory, we use GV. If it is global
GB.
memory, we use GV. Execute. Output is same, right? So that's how we define the variable and pass the value. Okay.
Yes, sir.
How to define one more variable? I need to define one more variable. How to define? I need to define phone number. data LV underscore phone. What is the type?
Int.
Type number and length
10.
10. Do we need to use data statement again to define one more variable? It is not required. You can use a chain operator like this. It's called chain operator. Use the chain operator, remove the data statement and just use comma so that you can define any number of variables. Okay, pass the value to the
Okay,
another
sir.
variable. Do we need to pass it in the single quotes?
No, sir.
No, because it is number type. You don't need to use single quotes. It will directly accept. But if it is a
Single
character
quotes.
type, you need to pass the value
We
in
must type in single
single
quotes.
quotes. Print phone number also, comma LV underscore phone. Activate the program. It is necessary to activate every time. Okay. Name and phone number. Did I type zeros? Did I
No,
pass
sir.
any zeros? No, right?
No, right.
But why it is displaying zeros? In
But
number
your
data
mention
type,
length is
in
10.
yeah, in number data type, it will display some default zeros, right? For the empty spaces, it will display zeros. Okay.
Zeros. Yes, sir.
Now it is number type, right? Shall I pass value like
Yes, sir.
this? Shall I pass value like this for
No,
number
no,
type?
sir.
No, sir.
Let's observe what will happen. No syntax error. No syntax error. Let's check the output. It is accepting only number and excluding the character type data. Have you observed here? It is displaying only 1, 2, 3. Keep a breakpoint. Keep a breakpoint here. Click here. Execute to debug. Go to desktop 3. Double click on the variables. They're all empty, right? Initially, there is no value in these variables because in which line the controller is at? Line number 9, right? The value is not yet populated. Double click on the variable. You can see the properties of the variables, the metadata of the variable. It is character 40, right? There is no value populated yet. We did not execute that statement yet. For example, if you want to populate some value, if you want to populate some value in the debug mode, what you can do? You can use this pen symbol and enter some value and press enter to pass some values in debug mode for your testing purpose. Okay, you can pass values in debug mode for the variables like this using this pen symbol. Okay, I'm removing the value, enter, remove the value and press enter. Now go back to desktop 3. Now press F5. First variable value is populated. Press F5. Second variable value also populated. It is excluded the data like character data. It accepted only number. Write statement will execute. It will display the output. Okay. Make it a habit of debugging your program. Whenever you write a program, even 2 lines or 1 line, just try to debug it, how it is working, how the program is actually working. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Some phone number you can pass like that. Okay. Now, let me define one more variable, LV underscore. So this is integer type. Integer type usually we use for counts, right? This kind of values we use integer type, right? Let's pass some value to integer type, LV underscore count. Here also you need to pass, you don't need to pass any single quotes, right? You can directly pass the value. Activate the program. Display the output. Go to desktop 3 to check the values. Value is populated to count, that is 500. Where is that 500? Why it is not displaying? We are passing the value, right? Are we passing the value or not for that count value variable?
Yes, sir. But
But why it is not displaying?
we
We are
forgot
not
print,
printing.
sir. They are
Yeah,
not print.
always keep remember, populating the value is not enough, right? You have to print that value, or you
Print.
need to display that value in the output. That is also important. Okay. Now we'll apply some calculation on this. We'll apply some calculation on the count. For example, I can also use some mathematical calculations like this. 5 by 7, maybe 5 minus 7. LV underscore count equal to 5 minus 7. What will be the expected output in count? What is the expected output in count?
No, sir.
-2.
What is the type? What is the type we have taken for count? Integer type, right? What is the property of integer type? It can accept rounding
Negative.
values with positive and negative
Positive
signs.
numbers and negative
Negative
numbers.
values.
-2.
Minus 2, right?
Yes, sir.
It is displaying minus 2. For example, I'll pass values like this. LV underscore count equal to 5 and LV underscore count equal to LV underscore count divided by 3. What I am doing? First I am passing 5 to count, then I am dividing that value with 3, and final output again I am updating to LV count. Okay. I'll keep the breakpoint here for your understanding. Initially LV underscore count is blank. So default length is 4 for integer. Okay. You don't need to provide any length. Clear?
Yes, sir. Clear.
We are passing 5, and what are we doing here? We are dividing it by 3. What is the value? What is the output value?
2, sir.
2. 5 by 3. What is 5 by 3?
Remainder the
1.75.
1.66
6.
something, right? So it is rounding it to 2.
2.
Okay, it is rounding it to 2. Like that, you can apply different mathematical functions also, including plus, minus, subtraction, and multiplication, like this. Into this is multiplication. Okay, you can use different mathematical functions on integer types. Okay, clear?
Clear, sir.
So the mandatory thing here is you need to define it. You need to define that variable. Okay, this is what these are the mandatory syntaxes for previous version, that is SAP ECC versions. In S4 HANA also you can use the same version, same coding. But in S4 HANA or in new ABAP we have some additional syntaxes. We can use inline declarations. We call them as inline declarations. Let me show you. I'll comment this. I'll comment this code. You can also use inline declaration. You don't need to define separately. You don't need to define separately. By using inline declarations, you can simply write like this. LV underscore emp name equal to test name 100, data of some number, data of LV underscore count equal to some 500 or some 500. And if you want to apply any calculation, you can write like this. LV underscore. Every time you don't need to write. Once that is defined, you can start using it normally. Okay. So here we are defining as well as passing the value in the same line. What do we call this? Inline declarations. Okay. Inline declarations we call them. Clear? You can directly define the data object as well as pass the value in the same line. Clear? Let's check. Syntax check. Activate the program. We got the output, right? Keep a breakpoint how it is doing. F5. It is defined as well as passing the value. Double click on this. What is the length it is assigned? Sometimes we may not be able to use inline declarations due to some limitations. At that time, you have to go with the data object declaration like this in using data statements. It is still processing. Yeah. What is the length it is assigned? Character 13. It's assigned character 13 for this variable. How about the rest of the variables? For phone number, count. If you see here, for phone number, it's assigned integer, not the number, right? It's assigned the integer. But what is the actual type we need for phone numbers? Number type.
Number.
Number.
For this also, for all the number types, it is assigning integer type. Since it is an integer type, it is displaying with some comma separator, right? So sometimes we need to define our own data objects, okay? But you can also make use of inline declarations like this. You don't need to write a separate syntax to define the data objects. You can also use inline declarations, okay? Clear? In most of the
Yes, sir.
projects,
Clear.
we are following inline declarations, okay? But there are still many support projects which are still in previous versions, and there we need to use these syntaxes. That is mandatory. We cannot use inline declarations, okay? So we'll learn both, okay?
Sir.
So in the
Okay, sir.
next session, we'll see few more examples on defining data objects and you passing the values, or maybe let me show you one more, that is date. I'll show you one here. Data lv underscore date type d. What is this for? Date value. This is for date value, okay? To display, to maintain the date values. Similarly, we can use packed decimal data lv underscore price type p. P is for packed decimal, right? And what is mandatory for p? Decimal places you have to maintain. How
Decimals.
many decimal places you want to display? For example, lv underscore price equal to, we'll do some calculation. Lv underscore count divided by some 3. Okay, some calculation I am doing. It seems server is slow. No syntax errors. Let me print here. Let me print the price. Yeah, this is decimal, right? Price. It is printing with 2 decimal places. If you use decimal places 3, activate, it will print with 3 decimal places. Clear? That's called packed decimal. We use usually for any price, any amount values, these kind of values, we use packed decimal. Because if we use integer, what it will do? If you use integer for this price, what it will do?
It will remove the decimal part.
It will round it to 8, right? It will round it to 8. 8.333, it will round it to 8. For example, if you take some bank, each paisa is also counts, right? For example, they are
Obviously, sir.
rounding all their paisa values and they are doing some calculations. At the end, they can find huge difference in the values, right?
Yes, sir.
That's why in business, even paisa is also counts, right, for them. So that's why we need to use the proper data type, which calculates exact values. Okay. If you use integer, it will round it.
Sir.
Either it will increase total amount, or either it will decrease the total actual amount. It won't display the exact amount if you use integer types. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.